Hi guys, my name is Megan and today I've got a bunch of my favorite childhood reads for you. Alright, so first things first, sorry if it's a little noisy, I've got the window open, it's a little warm in here today, as you guys can probably tell, my face is all red. So today we're going to be talking about a bunch of books from my childhood that I really loved reading. There's a bunch of them, so we're probably not going to go too detailed on these, but go ahead and dive in and see what's in the pile. The first book series we're going to talk about today is the Deltoid Quest series. So this was one of my favorite series of all time when I was a kid. These books are amazing, and I know there's a TV show that came out probably a couple years ago based on these. Obviously they dealt with a quest, but there was also a lot of dragons and there were puzzles in these books and maps and all sorts of really cool fun stuff, and I actually still have all of the books for this series plus the other two series that go along with this, but I devoured these books as a kid. So next up we have Artemis Fowl, of course. Artemis Fowl is probably one of the very first middle grade book series that I ever read, and I loved these books to pieces. These are the really old paperback copies. I'm not even sure this is the first one because I've lost a couple books through just misplacing them places, but Artemis Fowl has always been a book series that I just love. Owen Colfer actually is one of my favorite authors from when I was a child. I burned through almost all of the books that he wrote up until I was probably in 7th grade. I think I read all of the books that he had published up till then. Huge fangirl of this series. Probably actually due for a reread because there is a movie out now, and a whole other series based on characters that didn't exist when I started reading these. Next up, we're going to talk about Aragon. So I've talked about this book extensively. You can tell that this is a well-loved copy because I've lost the dust jacket. My book binding is falling apart. I have a full review for Aragon, which I will leave linked above, where I talked about this book more in detail. But Aragon, this was one of the first, again, another first YA book that I really dove into. And it's about dragons, so how could I not fall in love with this book series? So next up we have the Orange Trilogy. So this book series, it's been forever and a half since I read this book series. I think I was reading this back in when I was 6th grade, I think. This is a middle grade kind of high fantasy, almost like Avatar The Last Airbender kind of book series before Avatar The Last Airbender existed. This follows a bunch of girls who have these special powers. So one has fire power, one has earth, one air, and one water, and they all kind of end up coming together as to defeat an evil queen, basically. So it's such a good series, and I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, I think the main character in the first book disguised herself as a boy and was working in a blacksmith shop. Yeah, it's been forever and a half since I read this book series, and I probably should give this one a reread because this was a really good one if I'm remembering it correctly. Next up we have, of course, Maximum Ride. I could not do this video without talking about this. My mom and I read this book, the first one at least, together when I was in 6th or 7th grade, and this book is chunky for having a 13-year-old read it. And I really remember loving this because these characters were the same age I was, and I read the books, and each year, they got older and they grew up with me, and this book series was so cool, and the genetic modifications and trying to save the world and just trying to live and survive for these kids. Yeah, this one is one that I will always love and always remember, and this is a favorite from when I was a kid. Okay, so next up we're going to talk about the Circle of Magic series. So this is the bind-up edition of book 1 and 2. You guys, I talk about Tamora Pierce's books a lot on my channel, but usually I don't talk about this particular series. So I think I read these ones after I read the Protector of the Small series the first time. These characters I fell in love with. It was this ragtag group of kids that kind of got pushed together in this foster home, and they kind of grew to be siblings and friends and found family, and they also got to learn how to use their magic, and it was just such a feel-good book for me. Probably about time to do a reread on these. I think this was one of my goals for 2020 to reread this series, but I didn't get around to it. So hopefully sometime soon I will be able to get to this one. So the next book series we're going to talk about is the Alex Ryder series. Alex Ryder, how do I describe this book series? I love this book series. So this is about Alex, who his uncle is this spy for MI6, which is a British intelligence agency, super secret spies, that kind of fun stuff. And Alex doesn't know it, and his uncle dies, and then Alex is recruited in his uncle's place as a 16-year-old to be a spy and to go into all the places that adults can't get to. Vividly remember reading from 6th through probably 8th grade when I thought the last books was released, but there are definitely more books than that now. I remember reading these, and this one also has a movie, but there's also a new series on IMDb TV, I think, that's based on this book series, which I really, really need to read, or need to watch, because I loved this book series as a kid. So the next book series is The Midnighters by Scott Westerfeld. This was probably... Was this my first introduction to him? No. I think Uglies was, but Uglies is a great series too. This one is kind of like a paranormal series. This one would actually make a really good TV show if somebody wanted to turn this into a TV show. It's very creepy from what I remember. These kids that are born at midnight have these interesting powers, like they gain an extra day, or no, they gain an extra hour every night at midnight when they move to this certain town where there's kind of like a rift in space-time. Like they just have fun with these powers that they have, and then things start going very, very, very wrong. And there's something about the number 13, I think. I don't remember what it is, but I know there's something about the number 13 in this that's very important. But this was such a good series, and I remember really like falling in love with it as like a 7th or 8th grader. Yeah, this one is one that I would highly recommend if you haven't read any of Scott Westerfeld's books. This is a great place to start. And then the last book series we're going to talk about is the Vampire Kisses series. This is one that I vividly remember reading with my best friends from middle school up through high school. We read all of the books together. I know there's a few more books now, but this was just a cute, like very fluffy YA romance about a goth girl in a very small town that doesn't really kind of accept her, and then this very cute vampire boy moves into a mansion in town, and you know, he's also a little bit goth, and they kind of fall in love, and it's a really sweet romance, and like it's very fluffy and cute. It's probably really, really dated by now, but this was just such a cute story when I was a young reader. Alright, so those are some of my favorite childhood reads. What are some of your guys' favorite childhood reads? Let me know down in the comments. If you guys like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already and would like to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to follow me on social media for more bookish stuff, check out the links down below. Alrighty, bye guys!